if we are ready. Okay. We are really honored to have President Bill Clinton present among us. I am going to introduce to you that, not that he needs any introduction. We are really honored to have President Bill Clinton present here among us today. His commitment to improving the health of millions, strengthening the local economies, and making progress toward international peace through his foundation. He has dedicated his life to replacing violence with human rights, degradation with sustainability, and war with diplomacy. His fight for peace aligns with the mission of my work and our organization work. President Clinton, I personally want to thank you for all the tireless time that you have spent improving the world. We are all remembering the time that you were our president. As a Lebanese American citizen, I had voted for you. And I voted for the amazing wife that you have, Miss Hillary Clinton. I don't know how I'm going to go home now, but I cannot thank you enough for being here with us. And now I would like to leave the floor for you to say some of your words and your knowledge about the Hearing Foundation and Mr.
First, Sally, thank you for the introduction. I voted the same way you did. Ambassador, thank you for co-sponsoring this event. I thank all the others up here for the work they do. And I'm very honored to be here with Bill Austin and with his entire family who are here. This is an important subject that I think I had completely overlooked as an instrument, an obligation of international development until I met Bill and Tanny Austin. When I was a young governor, my state had highly regarded school for the deaf and school for the blind, which a famous Indian novelist had made it went all across the world to attend when he was 14 years old. But I never thought about it until I met the Austins in terms of what the Clean Global Initiative and I personally should be doing. And I realized there were 300 million people, thanks to them, who had severe hearing loss. Almost 40 million children in developing countries. And I have watched this work for a long time. And I applaud the United Nations for giving us a forum for doing this. It's very important to note that children in developing countries are basically 7 times more likely to experience hearing loss because of avoidable conditions that routine checkups and treatments will take care of in countries with comprehensive healthcare system. And then they wound up on a downward spiral because many of these countries also can't educate them properly or give them the kinds of options they deserve. The Starkey Hearing Foundation is proving every day that it doesn't have to be this way. Bill's been in this field for more than 50 years. In the 1970s, he started giving away free hearing aids to anyone who asked him. I don't know why he's not flat broke. They went into a local drugstore and wrote Starkey Fund on their hearing aid box. You could send it to him and he would take care of it. From the beginning of his career in business in the 1970s, they have always given away a significant percentage of their profits to help people who needed hearing and couldn't afford to get it. Almost 2 million people now have hearing aids in more than 100 countries. I'm very proud that about half that number has occurred in the last 7 years. I saw my first Starkey hearing mission in Haiti in 2010 in the aftermath of the earthquake when I was representing the United Nations Special Envoy. And they came down to first replace the hearing aids and the supplies, the batteries and other supplies of those who had lost them in the earthquake. But they did what they routinely did. They asked that the children in the School for the Deaf in Port-au-Prince be brought in for tests. As I remember, there were 225 or so kids who came through. Only 2 left without hearing. That should bother everybody in this room who has a sense of obligation to the children of the world. Let's think about that. 99% of those kids could have been doing something else with their lives, could have been getting a more normal education, a more normal life, if they had been properly tested and providing the equipment. I have since had the honor to go often with my daughter to hearing missions they've held in Uganda and Kenya and Zambia and Colombia, where I saw class after class of uniformed students from School for the Deaf brought in, and all the students who left with hearing. When I was in Bogota at the mission, I think there was only one person that was literally beyond the reach of any known technology. Now, if you think about it, this is a problem of manageable cost with a proven delivery system that has a community-based solution to promote hearing health and to maintain the supply chain. One of the things I really respect about what they've done is that they train people. They've even established a hearing academy in Zambia. They've already trained people from 11 countries. But they're in more than 50 countries now, and every place they operate, they have local people running this operation so that it is sustainable. And if you think about all the problems that we're trying to solve, and if you think about the ones we did solve with the Millennium Development Goals, virtually without exception, someone had a model to solve the problem that could be replicated. You had a funding stream, an affordable solution, and a system of people that were community-based who could solve the problem. That's where we are now. When we were talking in 2010, I said, this is really impressive. How many of these do you do a year? He said 50,000. I said, look at this model. It's great. You could double that. He looked at me like I was crazy. Because after all, I was talking about his money, not mine. But in September, they came to the Clinton Global Initiative and promised to do 1 million hearing aids in a decade. They beat the target by 3 years. I'm not positive, but I believe they'll go over 200,000 this year. This thing keeps growing. But pretty soon you'll get to the 3 million. And if they had enough extra help, they could train more people, involve more missions, and do this in a hurry. You know, now that I have young grandchildren, I can see how much difference a month makes in a child's life. How the developmental experiences you have or don't have in a year could shape decades of your life. This is something we can do and do in a hurry. I'm glad he's being honored. Lord knows he deserves it. As does his wife, as do his family, as do all the people who work in these missions. But think about what this does, not just in terms of giving people hearing, but it gives you the dignity of independence and the feeling of empowerment. You actually have choices. In many, many developing countries, if you can't hear, you can't get an education, you can't get advanced training, and you can't get a job paying a decent income. The world is awash today with anger and resentment and division. People afraid of people who aren't like them, are looking for somebody to blame for their own misfortune. And the merchants of division often find receptive ears among people whose lives could be better, but who get up every day and begin the day by looking in the mirror and thinking every one of my tomorrows is going to be like yesterday. When you see a child here for the first time, when you see a parent see a child here for the first time, and believe finally they have become a better mother, a better father, they have done something, they took this kid to this, here they have no idea what was going to happen half the time. Then they begin to look for answers instead of anger, for empowerment instead of resentment. Then they see cooperation instead of conflict. This is about way more than hearing. This is about what we want the world of the 21st century to look like. It is a microcosm of the epic struggle being played out in virtually every country on earth. It is one more example of why people all over the world that are being herded around because of their religion, their ethnicity, their race, their whatever, should be embraced. This is really important. Beyond absolute wonder of the gift of hearing. This is something that works with a model that's replicable. Winston Churchill once inadvertently praised the UN that didn't exist yet when he said it was always better to talk than war. But at some point, the doing really matters. And doing is harder than talking. These people have figured out a model that works. It started in the mind and heart of one person. The generosity of then a small business person who couldn't bear to think that the children of poor working people in his community shouldn't have hearing aids if other kids did. It's a global phenomenon now that's community-based. There are so many of our challenges we should meet the same way. So I'm glad you're honoring him. I'm grateful that our paths crossed several years ago. But I'm pleading with you, take this seriously. This is about the cheapest 100% deal you'll ever get. This is the chances of your being successful are not 99 and 100. They're 100 and 100 with this model. And I am telling you, if you have never seen a child hear for the first time, and the sense that parents have that they're no longer failures for the first time, you can't imagine what it does. So thank you for honoring him and giving me a chance to say a few words about what they've done. Thank you very much.
But now you know, for the ones that this is the first time they're hearing about this, now you have an idea, I hope a big idea, because it's all true and real, and it's an amazing opportunity for all of us to learn more about it. For this reason, I am thrilled and honored to be able to tell you what we are doing next. For more than 50 years, Bill has made an ending to the scourge of disabling hearing loss his life work. The Starkey Hearing Foundation uses the giving of the gift of hearing as a vehicle for caring for both people and societies affected by the epidemic. Partnerships such as ours are critical to the success of this mission. As individuals, our strength is limited. Together, we can accomplish what we set out to do. In the past decade, the Starkey Foundation has provided 1 million hearing aids to those who otherwise would not have access to them in more than 100 countries. Now, I'm repeating this because it is amazing numbers. When you say it as numbers, it's different when you really see it. Today, it is my great honor to present Bill Austin with an award on behalf of our International Federation for Peace and Sustainable Development, recognizing him and recognizing his life work. Please, ladies and gentlemen, give me the honor, stand up so I can present the award. Now, I know President Clinton wants to leave, but I have a very small remark, and I'm being myself. I was standing with two amazing bills. They are an inspiring men that we can learn a lot from. And of course, with wives that I cannot tell you about, with Hillary Clinton, of course, and Tanya Austin, give them a big hand.
Salute and stand up.
There you go. We have a lot to hear from you. You can tell us a little bit more if you join us or maybe ask questions there for us.
Well, I think, it would be helpful if somebody in the audience would talk about how we could expand this and go to other countries, where we could get other people to kick in bodies and power. But if you think about it, if there are 300 million people in the world without hearing, if 80% of them are in developing countries, if you now have a model that's doing 200,000 a year, this should be a priority for health ministries throughout the world and for others who have the capacity to give either money or manpower. The thing I think you should do in this panel is figure out, we got a model that works, it's 100% effective, but if you only leave it to them, even if they get to 300,000 people a year, that's 100 years. Or less if you discount the people that are in the developed world. And if they get to $1 million a year, you see what I mean? You've got to figure out how you're going to take this to scale and more people are going to participate. Once you know something like this is possible and affordable, it becomes very difficult to justify not taking the appropriate action. So that's what I'd like to hear the rest of you talk about.
Thank you. We have with us an amazing person who will answer. I'm honored to introduce to you Ms. Paloma Duran, Director of the Sustainable Development Goals Fund at the United Nations and UNDPA.
We'll talk.
That's how we do it.
But we don't have time, please.
Thank you.
Good high quality, but hearing aids that are actually still useful in the hospital.
Guys, we're just get a run. Back it up. Thank you.
What do you have to say to your wife about this process?
We gotta run, guys. They're waiting. They're starting the program again.
Thank you.
We gotta run to our meeting, guys. We gotta run to a meeting, folks.
What's been your reaction to your wife's What's been your reaction to it?
Very good. The people that read it liked it.
What do you think about the fact that
I think it's a good one.
Thank you.
people are not
Thank
happy
you very much.
Sorry.
Keep going this way, sir.
Yeah, some people are not.
Thank you, President. Very inspiring. It was the way could reach Nepal as well.
Thank you.
We're going out this way.
Bless you.
Thanks, everyone.
To say to people who are not happy.
Nothing. They don't have to buy the book.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
We've been fighting for this world to be a better place to live. So there's a country called Congo now, living in for 35 years, and then his son took over, and he took over 30 years, and the population is trying to take part of it. So, what do you think about it?
I favor democracy everywhere.
Thanks, guys.
Mr. President.
Thank you, guys. That's it. Everybody, please.